Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I have a quick holiday project for you today. Lots of fun. We're gonna make this cute Santa hat purse. Isn't it darling? It has a cute little tassel, fold over, and we make it out of a Santa hat. So if you have access to a dollar store, they have these fabulous hats for only $1, and let me show you how you make it. Now, all you need really is one hat. If you want to have a coordinating handle, then it's okay, splurge by 2 hats, $2, it's okay, right? And I'll show you something you can do with the leftovers here in a little bit. So this is the hat. And what you're gonna wanna do is figure out about how big do you want your bag to be, or how much of a flap do you want. And I kind of think that that is pretty good right there. See, this is not an exact science. I'm going to keep my finger about where I want to cut that off, and I'm looking at the edge of my hat, and I have that aligned with one of the lines on my Quilter Select mat. And then I'm going to line up the ruler with this little mark place where I have my finger right there, and I'm going to line up the ruler with the lines on the mat. And this is that non-slip ruler, which is really handy because if you've ever worked with fake fur, oh my goodness, it gets everywhere. So now I'm just gonna cut it off. See, not an exact science at all. All we need to do now is set this aside so we can work with it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew this together. So let's go over to the sewing machine. I have just a standard zigzag set up on the machine, and the reason why is because when you cut this, oh, it's fluffy and it gets everywhere, which, you know, you're really gonna look like you're fluffy by the time you're done with this project. But I like to use a zigzag just to cover the edges. Now I have my machine threaded, but not through the eye of the needle. So take a look at this. I love this. I'm just gonna push on this lever right here, and the machine is threaded. I love that. Okay, so now we're ready to sew. And I have it set up, like I said, with the zigzag stitch. I have my bobbin thread in, and it's cut, and I'm not gonna even fish up that tail because these machines, they're really awesome in that that cuts it at the exact right length. Now at home, I'd be using a foot control, but this machine can be worked without a foot control. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it, and I'm gonna go backwards and get a little bit just to lock that in, and then just go forward. And I'm just gonna zigzag off that edges, and when you're done with it, you can give it a little bit of a haircut along the fuzzy edge and get that cleaned up. Okay, so we've done our flap, and that's great. Let me cut my thread, and we're gonna set this aside. So here he's done, and you can go back and just clean that up and give it a little bit of a haircut, and so it won't be fuzzy anymore. Now, with the inside of the hat, we're gonna do the exact same thing, but I need to turn it wrong sides out. So there's a seam on one side of a Santa hat, and then usually you can see like a crease in the other one, so you can kind of know where your fold is. But I'm just gonna fold it back in half, but right sides together, so we're working from the wrong side of the fabric, and I'm just gonna zigzag that and get that closed up. You could use a straight stitch, but sometimes that zigzag is helpful just to encapsulate those edges and keep it a little bit cleaner. Now, if you want to be really fancy, which you can, it's really, really easy to do, you can make a lining for the inside of your bag with some cute holiday fabric or something like that. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I want to give our bag depth. If you take a look at my bag, I've made a little box bottom to the bag so it actually has some thickness or width to it. So to do that, I'm going to put my hand inside and open up. So here's the flat. Rotate so that the side is toward you and open it up. And then we want the seam we just made to line up with that crease. So just fold it in half, and you can pin it if you want to. And then you can mark it 1 inch from the point to up to here. But you can also use the markings on your needle plate. And so I can come up here, here's my 1 inch mark right there. So if I put the point and line that up with there, and now I am gonna switch just to a straight stitch because I don't have any edges that I need to worry about fraying. And now we can just go and cut that thread, and then we want to repeat for the other side. So on the other side it's a little bit easier, and maybe you want to start with this side because it has a seam there and the seam there. You just want to layer them one right on top of the other, and then put the point on the line that's 1 inch and give it a stitch. And of course you can back tack, which would secure those and make that really easy. Now you don't have to cut these little guys off. All you need to do is turn them right side out, and there you've got your beautiful little corners. So if you were wanting to make a lining for this, when you have it wrong sides out, all you need to do is lay it down and basically just trace the shape before you do the bottom corners, and give yourself a little bit at the top so you can turn the edge under so you can have a fold right here. So you just want to basically trace that shape and make sure you have the front and the back. You can put it on a fold just like this if you want to, but it's really easy to make a lining. Okay. So here's my little bag. So now all we need to do is put our little flop over on, or our flap. And so you just want to decide which side of the hat you want to have as your front. And then all we're going to do is take our hat, and let's find the center of our hat point. And I'm going to just put a pin there just so I can see where the center is. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the back of the hat, is find the center here. So that's marked. Now, when you go to put this on, I'm just going to line it right up, and I'm flipping up the brim on the hat. Not all hats have a brim that folds over on a Santa hat, but if yours does, make sure it's up and out of the way before you work with it. And just pin that one in, and then I'm going to take out this pin and I'll move it over to the side here to pin him on. And then I'm going to do the same on this end just to get those in position. Now we've already zigzagged this edge, so I don't have to worry about that. I can just do a straight stitch. And my goal is to straight stitch underneath the white. I don't want to stitch up on the white. You want to stitch down in the hat part, but really close to that seam. If you can get in the seam, that's great, but I'm not going to worry about it and try that hard to get it in there. And if it's easier, you can take your free arm. I've turned the hat inside out so I can simply just slip it on underneath the foot. Most machines have an extra lift on the presser foot, so if you lift that up a little bit extra, you can get that fluff underneath there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just straight stitch from there to there. I recommend you take out the pins, but you know, I'm not for this part, so if you're doing it, make sure you take your pins out. So now that's all stitched on, so guess what? Basically, our little purse is done. And you can have, like I said, add a lining in there. You can add a really pretty ribbon for a handle, or whatever kind of handle that you want. So what I did for my handle is I took another hat, a dollar store hat, so it was just $1, and I took the brim and I cut it in half. And then I just folded it over. So if you take a look here, this particular hat came with a hemmed edge. So I cut it right about there and then just folded the raw edge in and then folded the finished side over the top so the raw edge wasn't hanging out, and just straight stitched. And that was using white thread on top and white thread on the bottom. When I was doing just what I showed you here, I have red thread in the bobbin and red thread in the needle, so that way if any stitches happen to show, you'll never see it. So that's how easy it was to take and make my own handle. If you have any cording, cotton cording, or any decorative cord, that would be really fun for the hat as well. If you're wanting red for your handle, you can very easily take your hat and cut a strip out of the red part to make a handle. And I didn't adjust the size. The band went, you know, goes all the way around. So I cut that whole tube and opened it up on the seam, and one end is here and the end is there. So you can make it any length you want. You can make it a crossbody, you can make it a short little cocktail purse, whatever you want to do. It's really fun. Oh, and they have the cutest little mini hats. If you've ever seen like the decorative little hats that are just small, make a cute little tiny bag. Now let me show you this really quick, a fun thing to do with your extra hat if you bought one for materials. I took it and made a mask. Isn't that hilarious? So here's the pom-pom. That's from the end of this hat, and then I used the fabric, and then I salvaged the one half of the hat. I took the white off of that and used that for the brim of my mask. So as you can see, you can just, it doesn't take much fabric to put one of these together, but it's just kind of a fun thing to make with your scraps. Another thing you can look for is at the dollar store and other places, they have some fun holiday hats too. What a sassy little bag this would be. Wouldn't that be cute with the cute little fold over? And this one, the sequins go a different direction. They're a different color. So that's really kind of fun. So you can be the hit of any activity that you want to do, just running around town, going to the grocery store. You're going to look adorable. And they make fun little gifts. They're also a great little gift bag. So maybe you just want to put some gifts in it and give that as a gift. So I hope you have fun making your own Santa hat purse. And make sure you post on Facebook and show us the ones that you've made.